Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing.
Good morning, and welcome to Storytime. Thank you so much for joining me today. Happy Thursday, wherever you are today. And of course, I hope that you have a wonderful day. And out here in Oakland, in the Bay, it is a little bit hotter than normal. So if you're going out, please be sure to get your water bottle. Be sure to carry that hat with you and everything else that you need to be a little bit more comfortable. Thank you so much for joining in. Please do check the weather of where you are, and so you are prepared when you do go outside. Thank you so much for joining us on Storytime today, and I'm glad to be here. And we're bringing back to Storytime, coming back to Storytime to visit another amazing guest who's been here before, and it's just such a pleasure to have her back with us here. Angela Henderson Smith is joining us here today on Storytime and will be with us very shortly. So please get comfortable, get cozy, get ready, grab that water, grab that snack, grab everything that you need, and come on out and enjoy this wonderful book, and of course a great conversation as well. Thank you so much for joining in, and find out what's been happening with Angela since the last time she's been here to Storytime. Thank you so much for joining in, and as always, please let us know where you're joining in from, who is joining in with you if anybody is, and of course how it is where you are. Always a pleasure having you here. Great to be here. Thankful to always have another day together. We do not take this time for granted, for sure. Thank you for making the time to be here with us on Storytime, and we hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining in. I hope that you've enjoyed all the books that we've brought to you so far and all the amazing guests that we've had this week. We had Nadia Solomon yesterday, of course, here with us on Storytime, and next week too we'll be having more guests, so please look out for that. And it's been quite the lineup this week. We've enjoyed it. Kennard Park and Monica Wesolowska were also here with us on Tuesday. So absolutely having a wonderful time here on Storytime. And today we do have Angela with us. But before then, let us see who is with us really quickly before Angela jumps on to join us. Good morning to you. How are you doing? Of course. Thank you. Angela, how are you today? Thank you for being here with us on Storytime. I love it. Good morning to you, Chad, and of course, Auntie Pam, and you saying, waving a soggy hello from Natchitoches, Louisiana. Well, thank you so much for being here with us. Pamela Courtney, I am glad you're here. And of course, Chad, thank you for joining in. Auntie Anne, where are you? Thank you so much for being here with us on Storytime out there in Natchitoches, Louisiana, and out in Kentucky. Thank you for joining us. It's cooler and cloudy today from Kentucky. You're saying good morning. Thank you to you, Ari and Megan. We're excited to hear a book about trees. Oh, yes, indeed. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm excited. Thank you for being here, and cannot wait to introduce you. Thank you so much for joining us, Ari and Megan. And one more time, you say good morning to everybody. Well, good morning right at you. Thank you so much for joining us on Storytime. Yes, bring those smiles. We hope that this book, I'm sure, will definitely bring more of those out of you today. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. Kathy in Ohio, thank you so much for joining in, and hopefully that you're doing well, and Luna as well. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. But I know today you did not come here to listen to me talk your ear off. I'm sure you cannot wait to meet Angela. So it is that time. Please join me in welcoming to Storytime Angela Henderson Smith. Welcome to Storytime today.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing? Where are you joining us from?
Well, I love hearing all these states. So I am in Dallas, Texas, but I'm also an East Coast girl. So I'm loving hearing all the different states represented. And I can't help but notice and think about the different trees in all those
Yeah,
states too. So, because I've been doing some of that. So it's just so good. Thank you so much for taking time to join us today.
yeah.
I love being here with you, Peter.
No, this is great. I'm so glad. And yeah, to think too, like from the original book to now here we are in with the three books out, and it's just been what inspired them. I know we had talked about this earlier, but I know some people are just might be meeting you for the first time or knowing about the books for the first time. So what inspired the books?
Oh, thank you for asking. It's a great question. I'm looking at the names and I'm curious if they have kids, and if so, what age? I don't know if they
Yeah.
mind just putting in ages of kids, because my journey, I would say, started, well, I think when I was a kid, I loved art. And I think that's really what started picture books. Because when I
Yeah.
pulled up, like, these are the three picture books, and this is the one I'll share with you in just a few minutes.
Oh
And
yeah. I'll just bring the
that's my
covers up
fall.
so they can see them close. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is the fall book. It's my third one. And so you can kind of just see, I know it has rainbow colors, so you might not think it's fall, but that kind of goes along with my original story of a magical tree.
Yeah.
So that's my third one. The first one that you and I got to share
Yeah.
7 years in 2019 was Isaac's
Wow.
ice cream tree. So that's the very first one. And then the second one is 2020. This is the COVID baby. This is the Isaac and Izzy's tree house. And this is kind of the summer one. So it kind of covered all seasons. This is the winter through spring. Then we've got summer, and then we've got fall. And you asked what inspired it. And I do think couple of things. One is I think I just love art, and I really, children's books, when you pick them up, to me, it is like going through a gallery of art in your hands. And that's amazing to me, the value of that. And then having three kids and reading to them quite a bit was so magical to me. I felt like I got to like have a second childhood by
Yes.
reading the books that were current to them. And so I would say a lot of things that inspired me were the authors that I read. And beyond my own children and all the crazy little experiences that we would have, kind of our little saying at home is I'll say something or they'll say something or do something, and we'll be like, "Oh, that's a children's book idea." So we will say that a lot on random things. But I think nature is one of the biggest inspirations.
Yeah.
And so
Oh.
I cannot get away from writing about trees, Peter. So
Yeah. No, because even in our conversations, you mentioned hiking, you mentioned all this. So I know you definitely love the outdoors. But one of the things too that I think always shines through whenever I talk to you, whenever I've had an opportunity to interact, is your love of family, or your strong sense of family. So how has that shaped who you are, or just shaped who you are as an author?
Oh, very much so. Yeah. So for me, the books, although my main goal is to bring just imagination and creativity, the thing that I love about writing is that when you read like any of these books, they all have very strong themes that are very positive. I know I personally have gone through a lot of different pain within different realms of life, including family, and
Mhm.
so have my kids. And so just to be able to give them a positive message. For example, this one right here, my very first book in 2019. I'm gonna skip to the end because I won't be reading it today. But this is the message at the very end of the book, and it says, "Even when the magic is gone, always remember to look for the rainbow." And my son is actually the one that inspired it, and he will probably be a little embarrassed, but there's his picture. And I almost get emotional now because that was when he was in kindergarten,
Wow.
and now he's a senior.
Oh,
But I really do, Peter. I think that, or I should say, Mr. Lamada. Sorry.
Oh, please, Peter.
I really do believe that every person watching this morning, you have your own set of pain, whether it's within family or within life. And I really think that hope is the bottom line of what every human needs to keep going and to see the good. And so for me, with my family, I try so hard to encourage my kids going through different things, going through divorce, going through some crazy things after that. Just really, and now having a stepdad, and just got married a couple years ago. So just letting them see my life lived out and try to always go back to life is hard, but there is always hope. There is something good to find. And that's kind of our family motto is we're not going to say there's no pain. We're not going to ignore it. But we are going to enjoy life. And I think children's books bring out the simplicity and the beauty of life. And anything can happen. You can get lost in the book and enjoy it. So.
Oh, no, I love that you're sharing that and bringing that out, because that is one of the things too. I love that when people can share about the realities of life, right? And especially with our young ones too, because it's not just all beautiful, and there's so much that we go through and deal with. And you mentioned too, even with kids, a lot of times we see life as hard from an adult's perspective, but we forget to, I think, consider the child's perspective. And you just mentioned one of those. So as we go through change, kids are going through change too. They're going through a whole lot of things as well. And I appreciate you highlighting that. And I know too that Joseph, H.J. Joseph in here says,
hi, Haley.
Great question. And Joseph, I want to encourage you to, H.J., I want to encourage you to please, if you have any other questions for Angela, prepare them, send them to us so that, while we still have Angela here, she can get to answer that, of course, for us. And you said yes to hope. And couldn't agree with you more on that one. And then Chad just wanted you to let you know too that, they lost some limbs of their pine tree yesterday, Chad's granny's tree during the rain last night. So lots happening out there in Natchitoches, Louisiana. But thank you for sharing. Please prepare those questions. We will be getting ready to get started with our book. But before then, we're going to go on a short break. And when we're back, Angela will be reading to us. I'm excited. It's always so good for me to have somebody else read to us, to me. So we'll be right back after this short break. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. And maybe your time to go and grab that snack in case you forgot. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. See you on the other side of this very short break.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Davis. I'm a children's book author, illustrator, and high school art educator. I am the author of 30,000 Stitches, the inspiring story of the National 9/11 flag, illustrated by Sally Warren Comport and published with Worthy Kids #book group. One thing that drew me to writing 30,000 Stitches was the idea that people from all different communities came out to stitch this flag and make it whole again. So I hope that when people read 30,000 Stitches, they remember the power of sharing our stories. When people came out to stitch the flag, they shared their stories, whether about loss or pain or love. We all have stories to tell, and by sharing our stories and listening to one another's stories, we can create a better understanding of each other and create a sense of connection and unity. And this is what creates a more inclusive world. I hope you enjoy your story time with Mr. Lamada. Bye, everybody.
Welcome back indeed. Remember, today we are joined by Angela Henderson Smith, and you can see all the amazing books that she's put out for us here. And of course, reading one to us today, The Magical Maples. How magical is that? So welcome to Storytime, Angela. And at this time, Angela will read to us, and then we'll be back, of course, for more conversation after this. And thank you too to Amanda Davis for that lovely message, letting us know too, we need to learn about each other. And Angela, you mentioned hope, you mentioned the things that we go through life, and how books can be an escape for us, can be that place that brings us, just that healing, or indeed, even if momentary at times, but much needed healing. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. And we have to say good morning to this guy. This gentleman right here. Thank you so much, Neil. Good morning to you.
That's my wonderful husband. And then this is my wonderful cousin who is a librarian at a Dallas school. And so I love having Brian on with us, the Rudy librarian. So hi, Brian.
I love it. Thank you so much. Well, Angela, all yours.
All right. Well, I am so excited to read to you today my third book, Isaac and Izzy's Magical Maples. The only background that I just want to give you is I know I just shared a tiny bit from the very first book, Isaac's Ice Cream Tree. And there's only 3 pages that I want to share with you before I begin reading. And that is Isaac's adventure with his magical sugar maple. And it began with him sharing fruit with his tree, which then began as the snow came down for winter, it changed into not just a snowball on the tree, but that fruit flavor of ice cream on the tree. So the kids love this one. It was my very first one. And I show it to you because it's mentioned, even though it's not necessary to read it first, it's mentioned in the third book too. And then it has a whole rainbow of flavors. So it teaches the kids the colors of the rainbow, the days of the week, and seasons of the year. And it talks a lot about hope. And then I shared the last part of it with you just now, and the message of hope of even when the magic seems gone, to always remember to look for the rainbow. So that's the first one. The second one came out, and it's Isaac and Izzy's Treehouse. And I'm going to share 2 pages with you on that. This is when Isaac decided in the summertime to build a tree house. And he asked his tree for permission, which Isaac, the magical maple, gave it to him. But the creatures around him, especially the bossy squirrel over here, was not happy about their tree house or their tree being disturbed. But he went ahead and built the tree house. And I love this picture because this is the supplies he needed. And that was actually a handwritten by my younger son, Andrew, when he was little. So I love that page. And the treehouse didn't go very well, as you can imagine, with an 8-year-old building it from scratch. But one thing that did happen is that the tree, the magical maple, did bring Isaac and Izzy together as friends, and she helped. Still didn't go great, but you'll have to read it to find out what happened. But I do want to show the moral of the story, because I always love the very last page. And that is right here. Making new friends means the magic never ends. Donut, forget it. So each book has a little food in it because food makes everything fun. So ice cream first, donuts next. And if you'll notice the little swing, what's the swing? It is a donut covered with some icing. So we have a lot of fun on the book tour with that one. The first book tour, my son was like, we've eaten a lot of ice cream. Could you come up with donuts? So there is the second book tour. And now I'm excited to share with you this one, Isaac and Izzy's Magical Maples. And this is the fall adventure of Isaac. So thank you. I am going to start by reading the very dedication. Because it is dedicated to my mom, who passed away now 13 years ago. And fall was her favorite season. And I grew up in Roanoke, Virginia, in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley. So if you've been there, you will know why fall is just her favorite. As Longfellow wrote, into each life some rain must fall. I'm thankful for all my friends, different and alike, that jump into the leaf piles of life, stick with me in the storms, and run after the rainbows, especially my mother, Judy Primo, who became my best friend. After 11 years of her absence, her seeds of love and friendship still continue to bloom. Autumn blew in with its crisp, cool air. Isaac and Izzy sat in their sugar maple tree, munching on their favorite fall treats, pumpkin seeds, crunchy apples, and candy corn. The creatures were bustling around them, eating treats of their own and preparing for colder days ahead. Mr. and Mrs. Blue Jay gathered berries, while Mr. Squirrel stashed away acorns. Rabbit ransacked the shed to insulate his burrow, and Porcupine poked around looking busy. No matter what, they all stuck together. And you can see they joined us too right back here. Isaac and Izzy noticed that their sugar maple did not have any trees nearby. They wondered if he needed a tree friend. Do you want a friend like you? Isaac asked his tree. Sugar maple shook up and down, tingling from limb to limb. And at that moment, Isaac knew they were in for another adventure with their sugar maple. But this time, Isaac and Izzy would give their tree a surprise. Izzy, what if we plant a rainbow around him and see what grows? I mean, after all, rainbows seem to be magical with our sugar maple. I bet he'll have a tree friend grow before we know it. Well, how do you plant a rainbow? Izzy asked, puzzled. Follow me. And off they ran to Isaac's house to gather supplies. Before long, they came back with a shovel, a bag of compost, and rainbow fruits. Red strawberries, orangey oranges, yellow bananas, green limes, blue blueberries, indigo plums, and purple grapes. Isaac and Izzy planted the fruits all around the tree, digging holes with the help of some little paws and claws. I'm sure something tree-like will grow from planting all these fruits, Isaac said confidently. You'll have a friend like you before you know it. As the autumn days turned colder, Isaac and Izzy kept their friend company, but no sprouts from their fruits appeared. They were starting to lose hope for any magical moments until their sugar maple surprised them. Izzy was having a hard time believing her eyes. Our sugar maple gave us a rainbow of leaves, she said. Isaac grinned. He's good at giving back. And I forgot to mention, you might want to notice the birds, find the bird in each page, because every single page of every book, she included that. And he gave back just in time. That night, the wind blew in harder and faster than a hurricane. I love this picture. Notice the little squirrel hanging on for dear life over there in the midst of the bad storm. The rainbow of leaves whirled, twirled, and swirled together all through the neighborhood. And as the leaves came down, so did the sugar maple seeds. So I kind of want you to notice the little sugar maple seeds. Normally they're brown, but in this case, since the leaves turned rainbow, they were all in rainbow shape. And it went through the neighborhood in the midst of that terrible storm. When the sun broke through the darkness, the creatures saw fan-like somethings falling from their friend. What are these? Squirrel asked. nibbling away at one. Maybe they're little boomerangs, Rabbit said, tossing one in the air and jumping around like a kangaroo. They are plummeting right down on my prickles, complained Porcupine. Well, they are perfect for our nests, exclaimed the Blue Jays. I have to show this one more time because the characters are my favorite. I love these animals. Wait, hollered Fox, rushing over to the ruckus to investigate closer. These are seeds, real sugar maple seeds falling from our friend, explained Fox. You don't call me Fix-It-Up Fox for nothing. If you want your friend to have a friend like him, we need to plant these seeds. Once again, they put their paws and claws together to plant the sugar maple seeds in the cold, damp dirt. So what do you think is going to grow now? Isaac woke to the sounds of the morning wind still howling. He saw their tire swing blowing on its branch. He smelled smashed, rotting pumpkins rolling in from the storm. He grabbed his raincoat and boots and rushed to his tree, hoping that their friend and the treehouse were not hurt. The sugar maple branches were bare, and he was still the only tree in the yard. Oh, I'm so glad you're okay, but I'm sorry you didn't have a friend to stand with you in this storm, Isaac said tearfully to his tree. Just then, Isaac's tear touched the heart of the sugar maple seed in the ground next to Rabbit's paw. But before he could blink, a tiny sprout appeared. Isaac, look, something is growing, Izzy said, full of hope. Yes, it is. Isaac's teary eyes grew bigger, and I think it may be more than just a sprout. Isaac pointed at the rainbow whirlwind forming around the growth poking out of the ground. Wow, Isaac and Izzy stared in wonder. It's impossible. How can a sugar maple grow up that fast? Nothing is impossible with our sugar maple friend, Izzy reminded him. Plus, it looks like we had a little help again, as he smiled at the creatures. The sugar maple wrapped his arms around his friends, all of them, and invited the neighbors to join in for the fun. Isaac and Izzy reached their favorite spot on their favorite tree and smiled at the two magical sugar maples standing together, surrounded by the kids and creatures all enjoying each other on this fine fall day. And always my favorite page of the book is the last one. Friends can be different or alike, but when the stormy winds blow, we stick together and grow. And I want you to have a chance to see the trees together and all the animals and Isaac and Izzy. And as a bonus, probably the best part of the book is my mom's writing of her pumpkin bread recipe.
Wow.
And I will read this to you. It's Judy Primo's favorite fall recipe, Primo's pumpkin bread. I won't read the recipe. You have to get the book for that. But I wrote from her, we hope that your family and friends enjoy my mom's best fall recipe. My childhood neighbors on Sunnybrook Drive certainly did, as Mom and I delivered warm bread to their door and stayed a while to visit. Now my kids carry on our pumpkin bread tradition here in Sunnyvale, Texas. Wherever you are today, May your baking bring sunny days and new friendships. The end.
Thank you so much, Angela. That is, I've read this book many times, but coming back to it today, just again, just brings, really warms my heart in a whole new way. Thank you for reading to us. And,
well, I appreciate it, the opportunity. I will tell you, Mr. LaMotta, when you asked me to read, I had a twinge of disappointment because no one reads a book like you. All right.
thank you.
I will say, and I had two things, if you don't mind me saying and complimenting you, is I had your show on while I was cooking dinner and the boys were watching football, and the boys stopped watching football and came in and listened to you. I don't know what better compliment to give you than that. I just don't know.
No, I appreciate that.
And then also, I have to say this: it was such an honor to get to know you over the past years. And I wanted to just share with the guests that he actually was one of the people that endorsed the book. I always look for people I really respect to endorse two people per book. And I was really excited to have you endorse this one on the back for me. It was a real honor. So thank you, Mr. LaMotta.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. And I must say too, was it the Cowboys playing though?
Oh, well, I should say yes, because I'm in Dallas. Absolutely. But my husband's on here, so I have to say he's a Chiefs fan. So I don't know. We're a little bit.
Yeah.
Can I pass that question?
Right. I love it. And, you had mentioned the age, the kids, and we have Chad, who's 9. And they're just saying they loved what you said about the messaging and themes, great themes, the books. And that's why we still love our picture books. We also love the great language, fabulous illustrations, telling their special story, and all the wonderful writing structure moments we use in homeschooling. So really interesting. And one of the things that they mentioned in there are the fabulous illustrations. And I know that you've worked with RACHAEL KOPPENDRAYER on all of the 3 books. How has that been? I know that at times authors may change who they're partnered with in terms of illustration, but you've stayed together at least over 3 books. How has that relationship been, and why was that important to you?
Oh, that's a great question. You always have the best questions. So RACHAEL KOPPENDRAYER is actually in Minnesota. I'm in Texas. We've never met. And a little fact, I like to throw out facts that people just don't understand about children's books, because I never knew them till I started going to conferences. I never knew that most authors and illustrators never even have a conversation. They literally, the author does their 50% of writing. They send it to the publisher. The publisher finds the illustrator, which is what happened. So the publisher's in charge of who they want to author, who they want to illustrate, and then they put the book together.
Yeah.
And because I have a unique, I think, publisher, she was real sweet in letting me pick between, I think I had among 5 artists to pick from. And at that time I was a teacher, so I cheated a little bit, and I had my students look at the art that they did, and so many of them love RACHAEL's art. So we've been really blessed because my very first book, I'll pull this up. Because my very first book of Isaac's Ice Cream Tree, we had made what I would call a just picture dummy, in a sense, just like our own illustrations. Aww. So talk about process. It kind of shows you. My son did most of the art in this one. Amazing. And I mean, we're talking like this is back to the beginning. Yeah. And I think what RACHAEL was really great at doing, Mr. LaMotta, is that she knew this was a dear book. And when she showed me the first pictures of Isaac's Ice Cream Tree, I'm like, that's actually what we pictured Isaac to look like. And she's like, well, I knew this was a dear book to you and your son. So I actually went back and I looked at what you originally created, and I actually included some of that. That's so rare.
Yeah.
And I knew then it was going to be a good relationship because she cared about our vision. And, and so it's very special in that way. And just to kind of give the audience, especially I said Chad is 9.
Yeah.
Kind of give you, yeah.
Oh, no, you're just talking. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, no worries. I like to say to Chad and other kids, when you're doing some creative work, don't get discouraged when it takes a long time and when it's not perfect and all of this. You have to start somewhere, and it's a process. And that's my main message when I talk to kids at school is don't get discouraged, and keep drawing and keep doing, because I mean, look at where we started with, my 5-year-old, right? 6-year-old at the time. And now what we have. And so it's just a great process. But for children's books, from the time you submit your book to a publisher, and then you wait 6 to 9 months for them to get back to you. From the moment they accept the book, after that long period of waiting, it takes almost 2 years to get the book in your hand to hold it, because the artist needs time to do all the pictures. The publisher has to have time to print it. And then there's that whole process. So the shout out to Rachel is I kind of was like, how quickly do you think we can do this? Amazing. Like, we got to have 3 books with the same publisher and the same artist in 3 years. Wow. 2019, 20, and 21 is huge. And, I think that's something that I would never have known. I would have been like, well, sure, put the book in, out 6 months later, here it is.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. So we've had a great relationship. I do not give her many instructions. I give her like little art notes, like this is what I like, this is what I envision. But she has the liberty to do what she wants to do, because that's her aspect of creativity to it. So they always tell writers, don't get attached to your characters. You might be picturing the main character to be a squirrel, and that the artist might make it a chipmunk. You just don't know. Like, you just don't know what they're going to bring to it. So I've just been really blessed to have her.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And two, I have to mention this. We're talking about magical maples, and I know that Ari out in Kentucky have a cat who's pretty much a resident cat here at Storytime called Maple.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then we have Brian saying, such a fabulous story. And I have to agree with it. And lots of love too coming in from Kathy Keith. And then Nadia Solomon, our guest from yesterday, says such a lovely book. So heartfelt. Congratulations on your 3rd title.
Thank you, Nadia. I loved listening to you yesterday. It was wonderful.
Yeah. And then Brian Feather says, we just added all 3 of your books to our school library, and the kids are very excited about them. Now we just have to get you out on an author's visit. But
that's awesome. Thank you, Brian.
With all that love that comes through, what's the biggest compliment for you for your books?
Oh, gosh, that's a hard question. I think the biggest compliment is when a child comes up to me and says anything about the book. The latest one probably is the pictures coming to my mind. So I do a ministry for single moms. I run a nonprofit for single moms because I was one for 7 years. And we were at a Chick-fil-A fundraiser to get money, part of the purchase. And one of the little girls, the single moms that I didn't even know, I didn't remember that she was at one of my library story times years before. And she ran up to me, and her mom said, hey, do you remember that this is the author of IZZY'S Ice Cream Tree? And she was like, oh, and she was like, oh my gosh. And she literally just told me all of the story. And I love when this happened, and when Isaac did this, and when the squirrel, and then that, to me, to see her engage with the characters, like that they are very real to her because they're very real. Like that's what the beauty of children's books. They are real to the child. And that's what is the biggest compliment, is just seeing that magic in their eyes. It was just so cute. This girl in particular was adorable, tiny, tiny girl. And her introduction to me was, my name is Michelle. I might be small, but I am mighty. I'm mighty Michelle. And, and it was like, oh my gosh, like
I love it. Yeah.
Into a child and to give them this, bring out the best in that child.
Yeah.
That there's nothing that can compare to that, honestly. The other thing would probably be the authors and people like you that I meet in the process. It's amazing. I know I have Haley on here. She's an amazing artist. We've been friends forever. So just being able to connect artistically with people and creatively with people, there's nothing like that gets me. I get so excited. So
no, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And then I just want to remind everybody that's joining us today that we are indeed here today with Angela Henderson Smith, who's been here to Storytime before and came back. How lovely is that? And today just read to us Isaac and Izzy's Magical Maples, the third book in the series. And then of course too, you can see their picture on the right, just Angela in her element with, little ones reading one of her books. But thank you so much for joining in today. And please remember to find Angela at angelahendersonsmith.com. Angela, too, one of the things that that you mentioned was, mentioning being in the growing up in Roanoke and in the Shenandoah Valley. And I've been fortunate enough to have visited the Shenandoahs. Actually, 2012, there was an earthquake around there. And that particular day, I just happened to be hiking Old Drag with some friends. And we were just up there. And then when we're coming down, we didn't feel anything. And so when we're walking down, we meet this lovely couple. We're hiking, and they just asked us, like, did you feel that? Was that? And we're like, we did not feel anything. We don't know. And then when we got down, we found that things have been shook up a little bit. But but just love that area. And so just thinking about that, and you mentioned too, walking up, to in your neighborhood, going around, sharing some bread and company. With that, do you ever go back to your roots? Do you ever go back and how does that feel for you? And how does it feel, especially when you take your little ones there? Well, not so little anymore, but when you take your kids there.
Oh, I love that question. So because my mom passed away and I was the only child, the roots are there, but it's not the same. It's really weird to go back to Virginia and not stay at grandma's house, not for the kids, not to be like, I'm going to grandma's house. So that was really a heartbreak for me for many years. And so I kind of didn't go. I was like, well, we'll go to South Carolina where you all were born. That's kind of our place in the summers. To go back to their roots. But then I'm like, it's time to go back. And I think it was really time when they watched something on TV and somebody mentioned the Blue Ridge Mountains. And one of my kids was like, when they were little, is the Blue Ridge Mountain, what are they really blue? I'm like, that's it. We're going. Like, this question should not be asked in my home. And so honestly, when my first book came out, I used that really as an opportunity to reconnect with my roots. And when I did the book tour, I made sure we were in the places that meant a lot to me. And so we spent time in Virginia, and now we stay with friends in Virginia when we go. I kind of got over the fact that we couldn't be at grandma's house. And so those roots, being back at my home church, being back at my high school, taking the kids to my art room when I was in art, just taking them to my campus, like all of those things, taking them to the Star on Mill Mountain Star, and all of those. Unfortunately, we've not gone in the fall because they're in school and sports and activities I can't pull them from, but there's nothing like going home, wherever home is. And I'm so thankful to be in Sunnyvale, Texas, and it's home now of 15 years. But
Yeah.
when you go to your roots, it reminds you of things that you don't want to get too far from. So
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And another thing that you mentioned was you talked about, your inspirations. I mean, being your children and, other authors that you'd read, other books that you'd read. But just thinking too, how does one move from reading a book and being inspired or thinking this is great to actually moving to writing your own manuscript and producing, like seeing it all the way through? So what was it that you loved about those books, and how did that, where did you find that spark, that energy to actually take you to the next level, to take it to the next level?
Oh, I love your questions. I'm trying to think how to answer this in a short way because it's always a long process. I think because I majored in English in college, I double majored in English and education. So I was already an English teacher. So writing was just a part of my life. I've been journaling since I was in 3rd grade. So the 9-year-old Chad here, just write something every day. I mean, I don't care if it's 2 sentences, just write. Or if it's drawing, you draw something little every day. But I think that's in me. And then when I started reading all those books with the kids, all these ideas just kept generating, and to the point where if you have a creative spark, you just can't keep it in any longer. I'm going to explode unless I write it. So I would just kind of write for me. I think just like an artist, you only see a few of their best pictures, right? So just like a writer, I mean, I have hundreds of poems, many manuscripts that no one will ever see because they're not good. but they were my ideas, and I had to get them out. And then I got connected with SCBWI, the Society of Children's Books Authors and Illustrators. Very long word. We're the #1 conference people. And so every year I would go to their conferences, connect with authors. And I got a writing mentor through an amazing woman, Sandra Glahn she's an incredible author. We write totally different things, but I needed a check-in. So I started blogging. It was the time, I mean, we're talking 10 years ago where blogging was the main thing. And, so I would say so many steps, Mr. LaMotta. And I think that's the interesting thing is when you hold up a book, that's all people see. They don't know all the backstory of the labors of love and work that goes into it. And so that's a great question because it really is such a long, tedious process for authors and illustrators to do. And it's almost and it sounds really weird, but it's almost like a birthing process where it's this long, and then here it is. And it's like your book child, book birthdays. And it's a labor of love. And I would not have written it, I think, if I did not have my own kids, my own love for art, and then just the inspiration of other amazing writers that are so far ahead of me that I read their books and just love it. So
and what are some of those titles that you read
well, okay, so I did pull out a few because if I pulled out my whole thing, we'd be here for 2 days. But these are some of my favorites. So Fletcher and the Falling Leaves. This is by Julia Rawlinson. And you can kind of see where I get some of my inspiration. She's one of the main people. And she's in England. She's an author in England. And when I was blogging, I got to do an interview with her. And she actually endorsed my first book. She gave me a little blurb to put on the back. So I appreciate that. And it was such an honor because I'm like, she's probably not even going to reply to me. And not only did she reply, she did that. And here's another one. This is The Apple Doll. And this is by Elisa Clevin, who is one of my favorites. And she actually puts how to make an apple doll. And yes, my kids will probably be upset, but there's a little picture of them when they're little with their apple doll. And she's another woman I reached out to when I was blogging. And I said, can I do an interview with you? And she took it to a whole nother level with sending us one of her, a print of one of her illustrations from the glasswing butterflies. And that was and I think, and she was the other person that endorsed my first book. So these are prolific authors that are award-winning, amazing people So it was just a very humbling and encouraging to see their work and that they would even take a minute. And then here's another one. This is Vanessa Brantley Newton, and I connected with her at a conference, a writing conference, and she was the keynote speaker and forever memorable. And I got her book and we connected. I love her creativity. And I think she did. Yeah, she endorsed the second book for me. She was one of my endorsers for the second. So, I mean, I think it's just incredible when you connect with authors that these are real people that genuinely want the next creative person to do well. It's not a competition, and I love that. Two more. This is Karma Wilson, and I love her writing. She's known for the Bear series, her Bear series, but I love some of the other ones that aren't quite maybe as well known. And then probably my favorite author of all time, which is really hard to say, but because there's so many, but I love Peter Reynolds. He's he's most famous for The Dot and many others. But most recently I read Our Table, and I've been using this book as a mentor text for my next book that I'm trying to get done, the manuscript to send to a publisher to see if they'll accept it or not. So those are some of the top ones.
Yeah, no, that's quite the list out there.
I went through about 100 to get it down to like 5 for you.
And you mentioned, transitions in life and things happening and so on. And I know that you're at yet another crossroads for you, big moment, leaving the classroom and, diving deeper into this creative world. Not that teaching is not a creative space, but ways one where you feel like you might have more liberty. So how has that change been for you, and what's next for Angela? What's the vision?
Well, thank you for asking. So yeah, I did this. It was a big step to leave teaching after 13 years and step out of the classroom and say, bite my nails. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go full time and see what happens. And so I now am full-time author and speaker. And so I do want to just say this, my website, I got to show this to you. I'm excited. This little note right here. Can you see that?
Let me see. Let me just pull it up. Yes, there we go. A brand new website is coming soon.
Yes, and then it's AngelaHendersonSmith.com. So I want to say to your people watching, if you can just put my name in the web tomorrow, Angela Henderson Smith, we are hoping to launch tomorrow. So that's huge.
Yes.
That's been like one of the biggest projects that we have taken on since I left the classroom, just because it takes forever to create all the content and decide what the niche is going to be. So for me, my niche is going to be doing author visits, whether it's at private schools, public schools, homeschool groups, churches, community libraries. That's kind of the bread and butter of the business, is to be able to have people bring me out as an author, and then sell books to the kids so that I can write notes to them and they can have it and hold it and reread it and let it become part of their lives. So that's the main thing. And then I am creating my own writing workshops to take into schools also. So that's the secondary, because I've done author visits for years. So I've been at about 10 different schools over the last few years, because I'm obviously limited as a teacher to be able to do that. And they have all been amazing. And so there's just nothing I love more than having kids just all around me. And sometimes I have 30, and sometimes I've done up to 300 at once, which is a little bit much all at once. But I have that variety, and I love it. So author visits, number one. And then writing. And then when I go to schools, then they can also hire me to do like a writing workshop with small groups of kids. And I'm so excited about that, because as an English teacher, I just loved teaching creative writing, even technical writing. I hate to even mention the word STAR testing, because in Texas, that's our testing. And, teachers like, oh, but even that kind of writing, technical writing, I just love teaching it because it can still be creative, and I love it. So I'm excited about that. And then the third thing I'm doing is keynote speaking.
Yeah.
So I'm creating a talk specifically on discovering and clarifying your cause. I think so many of us have so much in us that we can give.
Yes.
But it's like, well, what do I have? Do I have anything to offer? And how do I offer that? And so I'm creating a talk especially on that, just because I feel like I meet people all the time. I'm like, and I keep saying as I meet people, oh, you should do this, or have you thought about sharing this? And they're like, oh,
yeah.
So that's kind of where I am.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And then in terms of your books too, you mentioned you're using one as a mentor text, or the Peter Reynolds one as a mentor text.
Yes.
So what's the next idea? As much as you can share without giving.
It's so funny because it really is true. I haven't said a word about it. And it's so many.
Don't say any more than you need to.
but I can say it because I'm about ready to send it off, and I've already pitched it. But it's actually called Possibilitrees. It has nothing to do with Isaac. Isaac is not in it. It's a new character named Jade, and she
another transition.
What?
Another transition.
Yes, another transition. So I feel like Isaac did his 3 seasons, and I love him. I love Izzy. I love all my creatures, and I love Jade. And she is a young girl. It's a little child that she is starting over because she is moving. And when she gets to her home, and not happy about this move, runs out in the backyard, and all she can see is a yard with trees. And what is she going to do with that? And the magic begins of the beautiful imagination and how the trees just create this, be like they have a beautiful time transitioning from moving. I feel like moving is one of the hardest things for kids. And you don't instantly have friends when you move, especially if it's another state. And so it's just a way for kids to realize you can make this adjustment even with what's in your backyard, no matter what it is. And through your imagination, which then leads to friends coming and be a part of that. So that's kind of the little sneak peek. And I'm really excited to pitch it. And it will probably take another 9 months to get accepted, because that's how it goes. So it's going to be out in the making, but I'm finishing the last touches. I'm on my 7th edit right now before I submit it. So I've got about 5 more to go. So.
Oh, wow. Nice. Yeah. And are you looking to work with the same publishing house that you've worked with?
I am. Well, I am, but I also am looking at some others also, because it's great as an author. They really encourage you to be published in multiple publishing worlds. So I am pitching it to another publishing company also, and we'll probably send out a few more. So
yeah. And why is that? You're the first one that has mentioned that, like, encouraged to be published in many different houses. Like, why is that?
Well, I think when you're newer like me, because I still consider myself new with 3 books, I feel like I'm still new to this scene. Right. I think multiple reasons. One is probably the main one being you are trying to see who is going to take that piece of work and what they're going to do with it. And so I even talked to my publisher and said, hey, how do you feel about this? And she's like, I really encourage you to do it, because she's published I mean, they actually are a smaller company, and she writes books with various ones. And I think it just broadens your horizon to be able to connect with different ones. They have different niche and they have different things they're trying to publish. For example, if one publisher has already accepted a book about a child moving, or they're already writing a book with trees, they're not going to take mine, not because it might not be good, but they already have it. They have theirs for the year, and they're going to put their money and their work into that. But another publisher might be like, oh, we don't have this. This is a unique twist. We haven't taken this. So it's just important as an author to realize all the different options, and that publishers are only going to take a small number, especially right now, because they are the ones taking all the risks with it. So I think it's just good to kind of realize you need to put it out there and see where it sticks.
No, thank you so much, Angela, just for, I think Pamela Courtney there mentioned saying you're such an inspiration. And I don't know if you remember the first conversation we had when you mentioned that you had left the classroom and you're embarking on this whole new journey. I think the first thing I said was like, this is inspiration for me. It's inspirational because I've thought of so many dreams too for story time and things of like taking that leap for me was just like so much. I'm just so proud of you, and also just watching this journey closely, you know, and rooting you on. But yeah, I really love it. And I wouldn't agree with Pamela Courtney, more inspirational. And thank you for being here with us today on Storytime. Thank you for just sharing yourself, sharing your aura, sharing just the beautiful journey that you're on. And yeah, wishing you the very best. And thank you too for bringing you in. I feel like there's been more community that has joined us today here on the Storytime as well. Thank you for that.
Well, I really enjoy it, Peter, and thank you. And to the people out there, I know I have different states, which you don't even understand how excited that makes my soul. If any of you would like a virtual author visit, I do that. And if you'll just jump on my website tomorrow, it would mean the world to me to be able to get a gift to you. We're working on getting a free downloadable, like exclusive coloring sheet that Rachel created. Apart from any of the other ones with the books. So I would love to have you sign up for my newsletter on the website tomorrow. That would be the best tip, or go to Amazon and get the book and leave a review. Those are the two things that really help. And if there's schools out there that would like a visit, I would love to be able to connect more. It's a delight. Thank you so much.
No, absolutely. We want to just emphasize that too. Like if you'd like Angela to visit you and you've not been to the website, you have my website, please visit us as well. Let us know and say, hey, we would like to get in touch with Angela, and I will do my very best to make sure that that message gets through to Angela and you get to have that visit. Thank you so much for being here, Angela. Absolutely appreciate you. Just have, you know, just love and respect, and just wishing you all the best on this journey as it continues.
Thank you. And thank you all for taking time to join.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. That was our author guest for today, visiting us today here at Storytime, Angela Henderson Smith. Please do go to the website and get to learn more, support, and of course, enjoy the great visit. And just as you can see from the happy faces, the smiling faces on the image that we had for you earlier, and let's just see if I can put it right back up, and you can just see those kids loving every minute. And we hope that that can be you and your community too with Angela. Thank you so much for joining in, and I'm so glad that we're here together on Storytime. Thank you for everybody for taking the time to be here with us on Storytime. You could have been doing many other things, but you chose to be here with us today and to listen to us, to listen to Angela, and to learn together, right? To grow together, and yeah, and be inspired. I hope, like me, you've been inspired by the amazing guests that we had. I hope that you have a lovely rest of your day. I hope that you have a lovely, lovely day, whatever you'll be up to, whether it means a little bit more relaxing or maybe you're up and about doing things. Well, we wish you the very best. This has been Storytime for today. This has been Storytime with our guest, Angela Henderson Smith, who you can visit at angelahendersonsmith.com. And of course, to everybody else that was joining in, thank you so much for being here with us on Storytime, and I hope you enjoyed the story and the many books that Angela has done for us so far, and of course looking forward to all the magic that is yet to come. Thank you so much for being here with us on Storytime. We'll see you again tomorrow for another installment. For now, it is much love from me, hugs to each and every one of you. Bye-bye.
Story time with Mr. Lumada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lumada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. won't live lonely. Won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely. Won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing. Read me all of your stories. Some stories from far away, others right here in my neighborhood. Story time. Ooh. Story time. Story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh. Story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh. He brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely. Won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing. Brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely. Won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing.